What's up, Ed Tech Tac Toe listeners? This is Scott Azar. Welcome back. I am really excited that in the very near future, I'm going to be interviewing Greg Izzo and his co-teacher Lori. And it's going to follow up on my last podcast where I was talking about how they make these grid systems using Google Docs where they basically created what I used to call a hyperdoc, and not just me, it was a known thing where basically you are taking a bunch of different links and you're linking it to this one page, and it's also creating a nice organizer for students. It's organized by depth of knowledge, and it's basically how to self-paced learning. Additionally, it has a lot of moments where we can stop and make sure that the teacher does not lose that ability to instruct and have more targeted learning opportunities with students and direct instruction. And so it's a really nice structured approach, and I'm really excited to learn more from them to see how they did it, but also to see how we can maybe augment this in our own practices as we push more towards student-led learning, especially since we're going to be in New York switching to something called the New York State Science Learning Standards, or NSLS, which many other states have been doing in NGSS. And so that interview for me is going to be on the 24th of March, and I'm hoping to get that episode out to you as soon as I can. So I really want to apologize for the amount of time it's taken to do this and to bring this to you and to kind of have a new episode. And this is going to be a little bit of a filler, but I just, again, want to apologize. I've really just had a lot of personal things going on, and unfortunately this had to kind of drop down on my priority list. I have a lot going on with my dissertation, some personal matters, some stuff going on at work. It's just been a really hectic time. And so I needed to take a pause. And so to make sure that I'm keeping you guys engaged, and based on some conversations I had when I recently went to the state STANIS, the Science Teachers Association of New York State Conference at Brookhaven National Labs recently, somebody asked me about how to make these interactive Google Slides I was talking about in my podcast. And so what I'm going to do today is actually link a lengthier tutorial that I did on my Azar Sciences YouTube channel. And so you might want to end up just going there to watch this, but I also wanted to make a quick update to my first episode about Google and New York State getting into a feud over pi. And not the edible kind, the personally identifiable information kind. So what I didn't recognize was this was actually going to a much broader scale than just New York. This is actually across the board, which I didn't realize was from Google, because I started looking for it and I found very little. And I can only find a few websites, but it was New York State stuff, and it was sent to me by somebody throughout what we call our BOCES and our RICs. So that was the link in my first podcast episode that I added there. So it's much broader. I'm sure a lot of you have realized Google Earth, Google Maps. I had some workarounds. They shut those down too. So your Google Translate widgets will still work, but in like an Excel file, if you put coordinates to something where you used to be able to link it to a place and it would bring up your map in a widget, that doesn't exist. That's out now, been disabled. And so I definitely have some platforms that I want to explore as well, like ArcGIS with Esri, OpenStreetMaps, and a few others, but that's going to be a different episode. So for now, please enjoy my Azar Sciences YouTube video on how to make interactive Google Slides, where some of the elements on the Google slide are movable, others are locked in place. And for those who prefer to have this done on pen and paper, it is printable and all the extra stuff will not show up. And it's a really great tool to kind of make a blended learning situation that best fits what your students would benefit from. So again, thank you so much. I can't wait to get this interview posted, and I'm so excited to see how he takes this grid system, and in an earth science class for 8th grade where everyone is accelerated. One, how do we navigate that kind of a system in an accelerated way where you also have students with needs that need to get met as well? And then two, just like how we can adapt this to even bring up the level of rigor even further as we integrate more next generation science standards. So for the final time, thank you all for coming by, and I will see you soon. All right. Well, if you didn't know this, if you go to slides.new, it opens up a new slide. And your first step in making an interactive sheet is to go to File, scroll down to Page Setup, oddly not called Slide Setup. And you're going to change this from widescreen to custom. We're going to change this to the width of a paper, which is 8.5 by 11. And you'll now notice it looks like a page. But here's where the magic is. So I'm going to be making an interactive so I'm making a worksheet where students are going to be using their reference table to try and basically match a whole bunch of things. So the place that you're going to make a lot of the adjustments, and this is where you have to do a little planning in advance, is going to be here, because what I'm going to do is actually not work too much in here. You can actually delete this. And what you're going to do is you're going to, whoops, I didn't change it. Go to View, Theme Builder. So Theme Builder is basically the place where, as you make adjustments, that's going to be your background that kids won't be able to touch. So I'm just going to use a blank one. If there are ones that you already like, then go for it. I'm just going to make a few copies, because basically what you're going to end up doing is, as you add slides, you're going to just pick these as you go. So maybe you just want to also make these like slide 1, slide 2. And so this way you could also kind of tell the difference between them a little bit. And then you're going to edit it just like when you were in a Google Doc or a regular Google slide. So for example, if I want to just do a title placeholder, actually I probably have to do yep. That's not what I wanted. A text box, because that is going to be, there you go. You're going to be able to write in the text box. So you're going to add your title, magic. Just rolls off the tip of the tongue, I know. And make it a little bigger. That's going to bother me. Okay. Now, the reason why you want to do this is because this is going to be the area that kids will not be able to manipulate unless they go into their theme builder. Of course, that just made it 2 lines. And so that's why you'd want to do that. So just to kind of go back out of this, again, let's say this becomes my first slide, which it should. If I go to Apply Layout and I scroll down to slide 1, you'll now see that a kid can't really do anything to that. So that's why you do that. Okay. And don't forget, you can also add an image. I'm going to be annoying. And I'm going to add a GIF that they'll never be able to remove unless they go to Theme Builder. Okay. And you can even put other pictures back there too. So I'm going to grab a picture of the pages that they're going to be using. Sorry, Dwayne. There we go. So that'll be that first slide. And so now with the second slide, this is what we are going to do. We are going to add the directions to the top. All right, make this black. Now, this is where some of the fun comes in. So depending on how you want to do this, I'm going to label first because, again, I don't want them to move this. So we're going to call this location. Something that I also do a lot is I just copy and paste cells so I don't have to keep region. Remaking boxes. And if you don't know, you could actually just hit Control Command D. Technically, there's processes. And then I'm going to just spread these out a little bit. And then depending on how many different practice problems you want, you're going to add your shapes. And so again, I'm going to just maybe just do something like this. Now for these, depending on how you want to do this, I'm going to make a thicker border. And so where the bucket is, I'm going to make it transparent. My outline, you can make it whatever color you want. I'm just going to make it black. And then I wanted to stick out, so I'm going to make it 2.2. And so that's kind of, if you're not sure, just to the left of where it says Arial and stuff like that. And again, to make your life easier, so you see I select it by holding Shift. And then if I hit Control or Command D, it'll duplicate it. And so once you kind of get your little layout all set up, there we go. You can drag these boxes over. I mean, the labels, perfect. There we go. So I like that. All right. Now I'm just going to duplicate and just keep dragging as many as I'd like. That's probably pretty good. Okay. The last thing for this is there might be ones that you already want the students to have done, but we'll come back to that in a minute. And so for now, that's what I'm going to be doing. Now you'll notice the next step we're going to do is we're going to add a new slide. You're going to see it's blank. I actually thought it was going to copy the slide we just had. And I'm just going to go to my slide 2. And now you'll see all these boxes here are immovable. And so the next step is now on here, these are all of your interactive pieces. So if you go to shapes, what I would recommend first is coming to here, dragging a box. And so now you know that it fits. Just make a couple. And then what I'm going to do is drag another one over here. And so maybe I want to have them be color coded because I teach students with IEPs and a lot of the kids really just struggle. So what I'm going to do is just change the color. And so I'm going to make all of my landscape regions green. Maybe I'll make all of my rock types orange. And my processes this cool yellow color. Now from here, you're just going to write down all of these things here. So now you just fill in the things that you want. And I'll just kind of speed this process up so you can kind of see what this all looks like. Okay, so there's a couple of quick things here that I'm going to show you. And so if you want to, like, I just realized I never centered some of these, I think. So you can just select them all hit Control or Command Shift E. And okay, just one of them was off centered. So I don't want them to have to drag everything. I want some of these already pre-dragged in. And so actually what you're going to do is you're just going to cut it by hitting Control X or Command X, and you're going to take it and you're going to put it on your theme builder. And when you do, you'll notice that they're going to already be in place. So I'm going to, actually, I don't want that one. This one's going to be tougher. So that's part of this. I'm going to leave some of these that are a little more difficult in the bottom. These are going to be your locations. And then we're just going to keep going with our regions and then our rock type and processes. And again, I'll speed it up and then we'll be back. Now I'm going to stop here for a minute because what I just realized is I'm starting to lose track a little bit. So to help me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish these processes and then I'm going to duplicate it and drag an answer key, and I'll show you how I do that. So see you in a few. Okay, so you can actually turn this into a key where if you want the kids to check their own stuff, I mean, I've done this before and they never check the next slide anyway. So you just tell them to go on, and then when they go to this, then you put a big box over it and they can check their answers one by one. Or you can keep it as a second slide and you can edit like a second slideshow. And I'll show you how to export that and then do that. So what I'm going to do is make myself a key real quick. And then I'm going to see what I'm missing and then what things I want to drag onto the other page. All right, so here's the final product. And you can see that going back and forth between these two places is really what I'm focusing on, and then bringing it back down and having them learn how to read a part of their chart is going to be really helpful to them. And then the processes from their reference table. So that's a really nice way to make these a little bit more interactive. Hope you really enjoyed this tutorial. My last step will be here. You can just take a big box. You can do one of two things, but this, and you can just say, when finished, delete box. Now, I'm not going to make it too big because then a kid's going to check, right? So they'll like kind of do the thing and they'll lose. So again, the other thing you could do is if you select the slide and you go to File, make a copy, you just make this, select the slide, and you can just export the slide, or you can open either. You could also just make a new Google Doc, Google slide, and then just paste it in. But exporting it will keep all the stuff. So now I just forgot something really important, and I almost cut this off. Well, actually, I did. I had to stop and then come back because I forgot the best part of this. So let's say you have a student who doesn't like working on a computer, right? This kind of goes back to why I bothered to do this in this 8.5 by 11 page. So watch what happens when I print this. One, the rock won't move anymore because we aren't living in Hogwarts. But you'll notice now that, well, I'll have to give him an answer key. But now you can print it off and notice that it doesn't get weird with the stuff that you put on the sides. It just won't print. And so that's actually what's also really nice about this. You can print out some copies for kids that would prefer to have paper copies. That is our tech tutorial. And I hope you found it really useful. You can use that theme builder and create tons of different things, from Venn diagrams to reading passages that can't be moved. And then just like you saw with those boxes, you can actually change the transparency of them. And then you can actually make it like almost like a highlighter. So there's a lot of great things you can do with Google Docs. I kind of talked about it a little bit on my EdTech Tech Toe podcast, episode 2. but I just wanted to give you a longer tutorial, so I hope that helps, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching the video. Check out Azar Sciences. A like and a follow would be amazing. Check out EdTech on YouTube and Spotify. And thank you so much again. I really appreciate you sticking with me.